It was supposed to be just another boring weekend at Dad's cramped apartment downtown. 16 years old, hating everything, counting hours until I could return to Mom's house. Dad worked double shifts as a hospital janitor to pay child support, always tired, always stressed, living on instant coffee and whatever was cheapest. His apartment smelled like disinfectant and loneliness. That Saturday morning, Dad got called for an emergency shift. "I'll be back by dinner," he said, grabbing his keys. "There's sandwich stuff in the fridge." I watched him drive away, then flopped on his lumpy couch. The apartment was so quiet I could hear the upstairs neighbor walking around. That's when I noticed the closet door was open a crack. Dad was the most organized person I knew. Everything in its place, every door closed. He never left closet doors open. I pulled it wider. Women's clothes. Dresses, skirts, panties, blouses hanging in neat rows behind Dad's work uniforms. High heels lined up like soldiers. My brain couldn't process it. Dad? My dad who watched football every Sunday and drank beer from the can and never talked about feelings? I reached out and touched a blue dress. The fabric was soft, expensive looking. These were prettier than anything Mom wore. A makeup bag sat on the shelf above. Lipstick, foundation, mascara, all used, well loved. I don't know how long I stood there staring. My whole world had flipped upside down. Then I heard Dad's truck in the parking lot. I slammed the closet shut and jumped back on the couch, grabbing the TV remote. When Dad walked in, I was channel surfing like nothing had happened. "They got the mess cleaned up faster than expected," he said. "You hungry?" I picked up burgers. I nodded but couldn't look at him. Couldn't stop thinking about the dresses, the makeup, the careful way everything had been arranged. This wasn't some random collection. This was someone's wardrobe. Someone who cared about looking good. We ate in silence, watching some stupid movie. Dad seemed normal, making his usual comments, but I kept stealing glances, trying to see something different. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around midnight, I heard him get up for the bathroom. Then something else. Soft music from his room. I crept to his door and listened. He was humming. Some old song, but his voice was different. I pressed my ear to the door and heard a zipper. Fabric rustling. Heels clicking softly on hardwood. My dad was getting dressed. In women's clothes. At midnight while he thought I was asleep. The next morning, everything went back to normal. Dad made pancakes and drove me back to Mom's. But I couldn't stop watching him, looking for clues I'd missed before. The way he moved his hands when he talked. His neat, clean fingernails. How he knew more about hair products than most girls at school. Little things that suddenly made sense in a completely different way. The following weekend, I was ready. Saturday morning, Dad left for work. I waited 10 minutes before going to the closet. This time I didn't just look. I touched everything. Held up dresses, tried to imagine Dad wearing them. At the back, I found photos. Polaroids tucked in a shoebox behind the heels. They were pictures of Dad. But not Dad as I knew him. Someone else entirely. Someone with long hair and makeup and the most genuine smile I'd ever seen him wear. In one photo, he stood in front of the bathroom mirror in a green dress, looking happy in a way that made my chest hurt. There were dozens. Dad in different outfits, different poses, but always with that same expression. Like he was finally allowed to be himself. I sat on his bedroom floor and cried. Not because I was disgusted or angry. I cried because suddenly everything made sense. Why Dad always seemed so sad. Why he and Mom fought before the divorce. Why he lived in this tiny apartment and never seemed to enjoy anything. He was hiding. Had been hiding for years. Maybe his whole life. That evening, when Dad came home with pizza, I made a decision that would change both our lives forever. "Dad, we need to talk." He looked at me over his pepperoni slice, tired eyes worried. "Everything okay?" "I found your closet." The color drained from his face. The pizza fell from his hand. "Ryan, I can explain." "You don't need to explain anything," I said quickly. "I just want you to know that it's okay. Whatever this is, whoever you are, it's okay." Dad stared at me. Then he put his face in his hands and started crying. Deep, horrible sobs that sounded like they'd been trapped inside him for years. I got up and hugged him. Really hugged him, not our usual awkward shoulder pats. He held on to me like I was keeping him from drowning. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry you had to find out like this. There's nothing to be sorry for." Dad pulled back and looked at me, mascara smudged under his eyes. Wait, mascara? He was wearing makeup. Light, but definitely there. "You're not disgusted?" he asked. "Dad, you're the same person you were yesterday. You're still my dad. This doesn't change that." "What's your name?" I asked. "When you're dressed up, what do you call yourself?" "Evelyn," he whispered. "I've always liked the name Evelyn." "Okay, Evelyn. Nice to meet you." He started crying again, but these were different tears. Happy tears. That night, Evelyn showed me her whole wardrobe, tried on different outfits, did her makeup properly. I watched my dad transform into someone I'd never met but somehow had always known was there. "You're beautiful," I told her and meant it. The next morning, we had the hardest conversation of my life. "I want to tell Mom," I said over breakfast. Dad's face went white. "Ryan, no. She'll never let you visit again." But I was 16 and stubborn and believed honesty could fix anything. That afternoon, when Dad drove me to Mom's house, I asked him to come inside. "Tell her," I said. "What happened next destroyed our family all over again." Dad told Mom everything. About Evelyn, about the clothes, about hiding this part of himself their entire marriage. Mom listened in complete silence. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. Then she looked at me. "How long have you known?" "A few days." "And you're okay with this?" "He's still Dad." "It changes everything," Mom said quietly. Then to Dad, "You lied to me for 18 years. Made me think there was something wrong with me. Let me blame myself for our marriage falling apart." "I was scared," Dad whispered. "So was I. Every day. Wondering why my husband didn't want to touch me anymore. Why he seemed so miserable." The fight that followed was ugly. Worse than any before the divorce. Mom screaming about trust and lies. Dad crying and apologizing. Me standing in the middle, realizing I'd made everything worse. Mom banned Dad from the house. Said she needed time to process, couldn't look at him without feeling sick. She didn't stop my weekend visits, but they were different after that. Dad stopped being Evelyn around me. Put all the dresses away, threw out the makeup, went back to pretending he was just regular Tom Parker. But I could see how much it was killing him. He got thinner, quieter, sadder. 3 months later, I found him crying in his bedroom, holding one of the photos. "I miss her," he said. "Then bring her back." "I can't. What if I lose my job? What if I lose you?" "Dad, you're losing yourself." "That's worse." It took another month, but eventually Evelyn came back. Slowly at first, just on weekends when I was there. Dad started seeing a therapist, connecting with other people online who understood. He never told anyone else. Never dressed as Evelyn outside the apartment. Never tried to live openly. But at least she existed again. At least Dad had those few hours a week when he could be happy. I'm 22 now, in college, majoring in psychology because I want to help people like my dad. People who spend their whole lives hiding from themselves. Dad still lives in the same apartment, still works at the hospital, still spends every other weekend being Evelyn for a few precious hours. Mom remarried and seems happy. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I'd never opened that closet door. If Evelyn would have stayed buried forever. But then I remember the look on his face that first night when I told him it was okay to be himself. The way he smiled when I called him beautiful. How his whole body changed when he put on that blue dress, like he was finally coming home. Last weekend, I brought my girlfriend Emma to meet Dad. When we got to the apartment, Evelyn answered the door in a simple black dress and pearl earrings. "You must be Emma," she said, voice soft and warm. "I'm Evelyn. It's so nice to finally meet you." Emma smiled. "It's nice to meet you too. That dress is gorgeous." I watched my dad's face light up with joy and knew I'd made the right choice 6 years ago. Evelyn is still hiding from most of the world. Still living as Tom Parker during the week. Still afraid of what people might say. But she's alive now in ways she never was before. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes just being seen and accepted by the people who love you is the only freedom you need.